Joining us now is Bernstein, chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Mr. Bernstein, we know about the $42 billion in this infrastructure bill. President Biden hitting the road to pitch Bidenomics. What does this actually mean, and how do you believe Bidenomics has improved the economy?
Two great important questions that I will answer for you directly, because that's what we're really about this week, is explaining what Bidenomics means, because people have been benefiting from it for years on end now. First of all, it means building the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. That's quite distinct from high-end tax cuts that you hope will trickle down but never do. So it's not top down, it's bottom up, middle out. And it's built on three key pillars. First, building more right here in America by making smart public investments, reversing decades of disinvestment in American public goods, helping to crowd in private investment that complements our efforts, empowering and educating the American workforce so they can finally get a fair slice of the growing pie that they are helping to bake, and finally promoting competition to lower costs, very important to the American people right now, and help our entrepreneurs and our small businesses continue to thrive, to build on the record 10 million small business applications over the past couple of years.
Mr. Bernstein, I know you talked about from the bottom up and more things actually being made here in the USA. All of that sounds great, but if he's done so much for the economy, and we're talking about Bidenomics now, then why are the approval ratings so low? Why aren't Americans feeling it in their wallets, given the idea that this should have been a benefit, and giving him the credit that you think he deserves?
Well, first of all, one of the problems I think we face is that some of these pollsters are not asking the right questions when it comes to specific components of Bidenomics. So I think it's completely legitimate to ask people about approval and these sort of 30,000, 40,000 feet up questions. But at the same time, I also think it's really important, at least if you want to understand the answer to the question you just asked me, to ask people what they think about the largest investment in broadband that we've ever made in this country. This is basically doing what FDR did with rural electrification, doing that for broadband, which of course is so essential. Ask people how they feel about getting rid of non-compete clauses, about making things like hearing aids more affordable, about getting rid of junk fees. These are all initiatives that the president has already undertaken under that key pillar 3, promoting more competition. Ask people how they feel about this infrastructure investment. You know, the fact that we had this bridge come down in Philadelphia, federal, local, state efforts working together. They got that bridge up in about 2 weeks. That was something that is just unheard of. And that's what happens when the different sectors of government work together to deliver for the American people. Ask them about the specifics, and we've done that. And we see numbers that are north of 70%.
Mr. Bernstein, because I have less than a minute, I do want to ask you, since you brought up that bridge, why is that such an anomaly? We have bridges across the country that need repair, and we did get that done in record time. Why is that the anomaly and not the rule?
Well, I think it's an important question, and it goes right to the heart of reversing decades of disinvestment in this country. Before this president got here, Infrastructure Week was a joke. President Biden did what he always does. He rolls up his sleeves. He ignores the naysayers who say that bipartisan cooperation is over, and he managed to legislate the bipartisan infrastructure law. Now, we have decades of disinvestment to repeat, so that kind of anomaly is going to start being a lot less anomalous when this president continues to implement the successes in bipartisan repairs of infrastructure. And again, I know what you're talking about when you come to these polls and these approval ratings. Ask people what they think about improving ports, improving railroads, improving roads, improving bridges, getting broadband into their house. That's the kind of specifics that Bidenomics is built on.
Well, Mr. Bernstein, you know that you and I will be following up on this conversation, because you know the proof is in the taste of the pudding, and I will definitely be checking back in with you to see how things fare out. Bernstein, thank you so much for joining us.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.